Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. As you can see, we've got another pile of books because today I'm going to be taking you through 10 books that helped shape my business. So the focus of all of these is going to be about money, entrepreneurship, mindset, and so on as it pertains to business. And I'll explain a little bit about why each of these books impacted me in the way that it did. So let's just jump right into it because we've got 10 to cover. All right, so first up is one of my most recent reads, and I wished I would have read it 10 years ago, but here we are. All right, so this is We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers, and this book single-handedly changed the way that I think about my ability to make money or whether or not I'm deserving of money. And I should say, I also preface this with Denise Duffield Thomas's Get Rich Lucky Bitch and so on. But this one does it in such an amazing way that it takes you through the mindset work and then the strategies necessary to help you grow in business. And so overall, this was incredibly impactful. So if you're like, I need to get my money mindset under control, or you're making okay money in your business, but you want to grow and expand and see what's possible, then this is the book that I want to recommend to you for that specific reason. So, again, We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. Good stuff. Okay. Now, this next one is an interesting find. So I was on a cruise with my husband, and they used to have libraries pre-COVID where people would just leave their books after they read them, so you could take them, read them, and then put them back if you wanted to. Well, I took this one and I kept it. And here's why. Now, this is probably somebody you've never heard of. This is probably a book you've never heard of, and I'm pretty sure this guy himself put his book on that cruise ship. But guess what? I'm happy that he did it because it actually changed a few things in my business. So it is the Marketing Checklist to 49 More Simple Ways to Master Your Marketing by Hank Uloff. And sometimes I always say books find you. And it's interesting because he signed it and basically saying that if you found this in the Reflection Library, which is where I did find it, then it's for you. So it says, if you like it and it will help your business, you may take it home with you. And so I did that. I did take it home. So the number one thing that really changed my business in regards to this particular book is, I don't even know if you can buy this online, but check it out. Because there's it's very small, it's a light little read, and there's little tips throughout the book. But one of the biggest tips that I got was the idea of a vanity URL. So basically, my name, Terry Hofford, people spell it wrong all the time. So my website is terryhofford.com, but if people just let autocorrect take over or they themselves just forget how to spell my name, it's going to end up not taking them to my website. Except I did purchase terryhofford.com with 2 R's and an I. In any case, so in this book I was introduced to this idea of vanity URLs. URLs that people are more likely to remember. And so that's where I got started with yourempowermentspecialist.com, changeyourlife.com, phrases that people will remember more than my name and more importantly how to spell my name. So it will redirect them to terryhofford.com. And that tip alone made a huge deal. Not just in the fact that I started hoarding domains, but it got me thinking more creatively when I wanted to buy domains for new projects or things like that. It allowed me to think of different ways that I could market my business. Hence, it being a marketing checklist. But there's a few other really good tips in here. Things about doing trade shows. And it's just really fast to the point and very laid out very easily. So, I mean, look at, he's got one chapter that literally says, no one wants to look at boobs anymore. Come on, you're not interested a little bit? So that is The Marketing Checklist 2 by Hank Uloff. Okay, number 3 is a big boy of a book. This is High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. He also has a like a journal type thing that I used for a while, but in typical ADHD fashion, I got bored of it, like most things. But it's quick and to the point. Again, I think you'll see a common theme amongst books that I like, where they're like learn, apply. And that's what all of his chapters are about. And so it's all about the idea of developing habits, hence high performance habits, but habits that keep you focused, productive, and aren't necessarily time wasters. But what I really liked about his book is that it literally is like, here's the thing that you need to learn, and now here are some action steps. Here's to journal. And so it's in that way, it's kind of laid out like the Geo theory, my book. Yeah, I just really liked everything that he had to say. There's not much, it basically talks about just, if you want to be high performing in any area of your life, like maybe you want to be an athlete, or maybe you want to be a musician, or whatever the thing is that you want to do, where you have to stand out by being, I don't like to use the word better, just like really sure of who you are and what work you want to put out, and put the time and dedication in, then this book will help you develop the strategies necessary to get that going. Also, I believe he's got like an online, I don't want to call it a mastermind, but something like that, where you can join him online for a bunch of learning and education. So, yeah, good book. Brendan Burchard, High Performance Habits. Okay, so that is 3. Let's go to 4. Back to money stuff. Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. This book was recommended to me many a time in my money mindset journey, but also just in business in general, teaching yourself how to dispense your income. Because if you, like me, I'm a solopreneur, which means my money just goes into my bank account. And I have to set it up as a business, as opposed to if you're incorporated or things like that, you have a separate account, So reading this book actually really helped me create different accounts within my bank accounts, kind of like the old envelope system, to stay focused on making sure that I was paying myself, because I didn't do that for the first 4 years of business. It would always just go back into the business. And so there was no strategy again behind money. And if I was trying to get my money mindset under control or save a certain amount of money, you kind of need a plan. And so this is the plan. And a lot of people in creative business will recommend this book. Really, really good. Again, not super big. It's not a super big read. I'm not gonna lie, it does get a bit dry at times if you're not a money or numbers kind of person. There are certain things that don't necessarily apply, but I mean, that's every book. Every book's gonna have things that you're like, that doesn't really resonate with me. That's fine. Take what you want and leave the rest. Profit First. Give it a go. Oh, sorry, hit the microphone. Okay, this next one might be also surprising. The Light Maker's Manifesto by Karen Walrond. This book was really good for people that are in kind of social justice spaces, or businesses that have a bigger mission or message, or, are doing a bit more of the deep work around social justice issues. So the main overall takeaway from this book, though it's definitely worth the read, again, not super big, is how important it is for us to prioritize joy, so that we can continue to do the social justice work that we want to be doing and make the change that we want to make. And so I really appreciated her approach to talking about that. I think I first heard about this on Brene Brown's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the whole idea about taking care of yourself so you can continue to fight for, advocate for, and take care of other people was really paramount. And this came about 2 years ago, I think, is when I read this. while I was like kind of just coming out of burnout, but it was a good refresher reminder that I can only give so much until I have nothing left. And so me taking care of myself is not being selfish. It is not distracting from the deeper work, the bigger problems in the world. In fact, in order for me to do those things, I need to take care of myself. And so it was a really good reminder for that. So give that one a go. The Lightmaker's Manifesto, Karen Walrond, How to Work for Change Without Losing Your Joy. Because we've all been there. Okay, next up, we've got John C. Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Now, I would also, if you're into leadership development or things like that, listening to his podcast was really beneficial, but this book my mom recommended to me because in talking with me, she's like John Maxwell certified for 21 Laws of Leadership. So she's like, you need to read this book to see if this is the life that you want. And so, yeah, there's 21 different laws of leadership, which are great, of course. But it brings the reality of what it means to be a leader to the forefront. And I think that is, what's the word that I'm looking for? I think it's like one of those things we don't think about when we're like, I'm going to be a leader. We think that it's glamorous, or we think that once we get there, then it'll all be fine. But the reality is, this book lets us know, like, if you truly want to be a leader, it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take innovation. It's going to take being responsible for when things don't go according to plan. It's going to be holding a vision when everybody else is hurting. It's going to be, putting yourself on the line in order to lead a cause bigger than yourself. So I would say read this and then read this, so you don't get too much into this and too much into this. These go together. All right, beautiful. Okay, this next one is going to be slightly outdated, but the premise of the book I still recommend to people when I teach things like marketing. Gary Vaynerchuk's Jab, 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 Right Hook. It is all about how to, quote unquote, sell without selling. Be persuasive without being schmarmy. And it's it's a really nice book. There's like lots of pictures and graphs and like really nice pages and stuff. So if you're interested in like layout and design, you might like it for that. But essentially the whole premise of this is like help sell. Like, don't always be selling. And then he gives a lot of case studies of examples where it has worked and where it has not worked. So it's really great to put it into perspective. But like I said, there's a lot of business references that I don't even know if they still exist. There's also a lot of social media, that isn't used as much today, but the concept still applies. This concept still applies. So I would still recommend it because it definitely shifted my thoughts around selling. This is the other thing. Like so many creatives or heart-centered people or empaths tend to find that, or the idea of selling is squidgy. We think it is wrong and bad and, slimy. And it isn't. Like, if you're in a business, you have to sell. That's the whole point of business, is to make money. So work through the money mindset, some of those other books. But then how to strategically do it in a way that's in alignment with you. This book is really great. And Gary himself, I know he's controversial for a lot of reasons, but whatever. He lives what he does, or what he talks about. I think that's the thing that I take away from a lot of this stuff, is not necessarily just reading what people are saying, but also looking at but are they applying that information themselves? And and then following it because they themselves are doing it, right? It's like if somebody when I was in business selling something, when they were like, well, you have to take the product, because if you went to a restaurant and you asked somebody like, oh, how's the chicken parm? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I would never eat that. I'd never eat that here. you as the consumer would be like, why aren't you eating it? You know? And so, same thing with books. It's great for them to tell us what to do, but are they actually implementing it themselves? And that's the key. Okay, so this next one isn't so much about business and probably could go into another book list about mindset. But it did help me a lot. And I will preface with it's an old frickin' book. So there are some controversial things in the book, wording and suggestions. So I'll just put that out there now. But it is called The Power of Your Conscious Mind. I don't know if that's going to focus, hopefully, by Joseph Murphy. It, again, is like a weird little book. I just got it off Amazon. This is how it's laid out. Like, I don't know how this originally was created. It's a very biblical, not very, it's just biblical. But here's how this helped me in my business. This is why it's important. Because it talks about mindset, and I can't talk about business without talking about the importance of understanding your mind, because it is the creation of how your business is running, how your business will run, how long it's sustainable for. Your subconscious is driving this ship. So the more you can learn about neuroscience, your subconscious mind, how to master your mind, all that good stuff, the better you're going to be in business. But this book alone, there was one segment in here, and I don't remember exactly where, but there's a part in here where it literally just said, say money is good. And in that moment, I remember reading it, and I was like, oh, here it is. This is it. Money is all I want. I'm going to give all my attention to amassing money. Nothing else matters. The first time I read that, I almost, like, there was so much resistance in my chest. So much squishiness came up for me. And what that told me is that, oh, we don't think we're allowed to want money. I don't think I'm allowed to give my attention to wanting to amass money. So, like, it brought awareness to the thoughts I have around money, which then prompted me to look at my behaviors with money. So, if nothing else, this book really made me realize just how much my money mindset was in the toilet. So, yeah. You want to make sure, here's a great quote. This is just something. It says, why you must never criticize money. You lose what you condemn. You cannot attract what you criticize. So for me, I used to think, money's bad. Or, I can't, not for me. Like, only bad people have it. Like, or talking bad about people that have money, whatever. And I would say those things. And, like, yeah. And of course no wonder money wouldn't stay. I thought it was bad. Anyways, it's a great book, if nothing else, just for the part on money. So, Power of Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. It looks a little silly. This is not a book that I would normally pick up at the bookstore, if I'm being completely honest. Okay, so we're almost done. We've got 2 more left. This one is a relatively recent read, and there's a hair in it. It just showed up for me when I needed it the most. So it's called From Strength to Strength by Arthur C. Brooks. And this book was really great at this particular point in my life because it talks about how every business has a half-life, so to speak, or every career has kind of this half-life where we get to a point where we are no longer innovators, creatives, like whether it has to do with our physical age or chronological age, or just how long we've been doing the career for. At some point, we amass so much skill that it undoes the creative innovation piece. So we lose confidence, we flatten out, We get bored of what we're doing and we think that it's never good enough. And I see this all the time in the photography industry where people are amazing. Their skill is fantastic, and like they have nailed the technological capacity of photography, right? Like you know how your machine works, you could do it without thinking. But then there's this drive to need to keep creating, but they've learned so much that they know how much there is more. It's just like they lose confidence, even though the work itself is like objectively great. And so in the book, he talks about how that happens in a lot of businesses, and they'll have like this half life, which is usually the 7-year itch that a lot of us talk about in terms of relationships, but it also can happen in business. That's wild. I didn't know that. So anyways, so that gave me a bit of like, oh, so that's what's happening. And at some point, in order to stay successful, to pivot, so to speak, to still feel fulfilled in your job, at some point you will want to shift what you are doing within that job. So whether that's synthesizing information instead of creating new stuff, you're synthesizing the stuff that you've collected to create something new. You move yourself into more of an educational role, like I am doing right now. Whatever the thing is, you just kind of like move along the ladder to stay in the business, but just in a different capacity than when you first started. So it was really great for that. So from strength to strength. Great book. Last but not least, Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. Yes. This, again, is one of those books that I will pull out, I don't know, once every few years when I'm feeling flopsy in my business and life. There's some really great tips in here. There's some, I did a quick little live about overcoming fear. There's a really great exercise in here. And similar to Brendan Burchard's, it's like, here's the teaching, here's the execution. And so there's a lot of really great ideas in here. And one of my favorites that I want to do, and I haven't done it yet, so maybe this is the year, is that you host an event or a party, or I guess I could do it as an online, I might do it as an online Zoom party, where you dress up as the person you want to be. Like you are, if you're a millionaire, how would you dress if you were a millionaire? How would you talk to people? What would you have? What stories would you tell? Maybe you want to be a lawyer. You're like just recently thinking about going back to school, and you're like, yeah, in 5 years or 10 years, I'd love to be like this big lawyer. Okay, what would they dress like? How would you talk? What would you be talking about? What cases are you working on? And so you show up to this event as your future self, and as somebody that is futuristic as a strength. I love this idea, because I love visualizing what it's going to be, so why not become it in the now? Yeah. But other than that, there's a lot of really great advice. There is, again, some of it's outdated or very patriarchal, kind of, that doesn't work for everybody. But like every book that I've talked about here today, take what works for you and let go of the rest. That's anything, even just listening to me talk about anything. If you're like, oh, don't like that, just like take what resonates, and the rest of it might not, and that's totally okay. So that, my friend, is it for today. 10 books that have helped me along my journey in business. There have been a lot more, but these were the ones that I felt were a bit more deserving of time and attention. So yeah, so if you have any questions, the next book review I'm going to be doing are the books that help me with body image. So, yeah, you can look forward to that. And yeah, if you have any other questions or you want to see what other types of books that I'm reading, let me know in the comments below. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it really does help the channel grow and get seen by more people, so more people can get their read on for their business. All right. Thank you, my friend, for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.